Hey guys, welcome back. Today on The Untidy Artist, we're making a spring fairy with a straw hat. I absolutely love hats, any kind of hat, and when I saw these cute little straw hats along with some really pretty pastel colored flowers, I thought it would be really fun to do a spring fairy. So let's grab some supplies and get started. The first thing you'll need is a fairy doll body. Now, to learn how to do this, I'll be referring back to my basic fairy doll tutorial. You can learn how to make a fairy doll by clicking on the video up in the right hand corner. You use a piece of floral wire, a little bead, a wooden bead that's about 3/4 of an inch with a 1/8 inch hole, and then you use some thread for the skin and for the hair, and you twist it into this cute little doll body. So once again, to learn how to do this, if you haven't made a fairy before, click on the video up in the right hand corner. Then you'll need two colors, one for the fairy doll's clothes and one for a little sash around her waist. And I found this really pretty silk flower that was pink and yellow, and so I picked out two colors of thread that matched the colors of the flower. Then I found these cute little doll hats. They're just flat brim straw hats that are 1.5 inches, and they just so happen to fit my dolls perfectly. So I will put a link to where I got these down below, and I'm guessing just about any craft store would carry them if they have any type of doll making supplies. And you'll want to make sure that whatever type of hat you get will fit on top of your doll's head. Then we're going to use some little tiny flowers to embellish her hat. And these are just little tiny silk flowers I got at the craft store. You'll need a pair of scissors and, of course, my trusty glue gun set on low. I like it set on low because it's easier to work with the glue. The first step is to grab your fairy doll body, and we're going to put some clothes on our doll. So I'm using this really pretty pink color, and to learn how to dress your doll with a thread, please click on the video up in the right hand corner there. It will take you back to my basic fairy doll tutorial. And you can see I just wrapped it in a V at the top and then down her waist, and I give her a little pair of shorts. And then I took the yellow and just kind of wrapped it as a sash around her waist. Then I grabbed my flower, and you're going to completely pull the silk flower apart. Now, I really liked that this flower was variegated, that it went from the darker pink to the yellow, and that it just had a lot of fun, bright, happy springtime colors in it. So take it apart completely, and then you'll want to line it up so the biggest petals are on the bottom and the smallest petals are on the top. And when you have it layered out the way that you'd like it, fold it in half, the petals in half, line up that little hole in the middle, fold it in half, and then you're going to cut a little X into the center of the flower. So down about 1/8 of an inch, open it back up, fold it the other way, and cut it the other direction. And this will allow us to slide the flower petals onto the doll. You're going to do that with all of the flower petals, and then you're going to take the smallest petals first and slide those up to the top. These are the top layers of our fairy doll's dress. And so I just slide them on and kind of arrange them the way that I like them. You don't want them to sit directly on top of each other. You want them to overlap a little bit to make her skirt full and pretty. And then you're going to grab your glue gun and put a tiny dab of glue in between the layers to hold her dress in place. And so you can see as I go along, I go kind of slow, and I just make sure that each layer I attach is where I want it to be. And once again, making sure that those layers are overlapping nicely to give her skirt just a really nice shape. And I do that in the front, and then in the back, you can see her cute little skirt here. So basically, the smallest petals are at the very top of her skirt. Then we're going to go ahead and style her hair. So working very slowly, smooth her hair out, and then you're going to loop it up and around. So placing your doll face down, put a small line of glue on the back of her head, and then you loop the thread up and around and attach the very end to the glue that you just put on the back of her head. And be really careful that you don't get burned in this part. Hold it into place for a minute until the glue sets, and you can see it just creates this big loop and what this is going to do is make her hair look pretty and full. And then just kind of smooth it out. You can go back and add glue anywhere else you might need it to hold it down. Work slowly and just add a little bit of glue at a time. You can always go back and add more. The idea is to just barely tack her hair down so it holds it in place. And then I do spend a lot of time smoothing out the thread to make her hair look nice and even. Then you're going to grab the hat, and we're going to embellish the hat a little bit. So I decided to use some of the yellow thread that I used for her clothes and some of the really pretty pink. And I'm just taking one strand of each kind of thread and I'm going to wrap it around the hat. Now I'm going to grab my glue gun and just put a tiny dab of glue to hold that first little part down. And I'm just going to leave the end of the thread kind of tailing off the hat there because we can go back and trim that off later. And then every maybe ½ inch or ¼ inch, I'm going to add a little dab of glue and just gently tack the thread down. It doesn't need to be perfect. All we want right here is just that little pop of color that will also match her dress. You can see I'm just kind of twisting it a little bit so it will stay in place. And then once you get back to where you started, you're going to overlap it slightly and work slowly and hold it down so that the glue sets, and then trim off the end. And I thought it would be cute to leave the little ends sticking up. And then I'm going to grab my silk flowers, and I'm actually going to cut off a couple different sprigs of the flowers. I like to do this to see which flowers lay better on the hat. And so if I have a couple options, it seems to work a lot better. And then I'm putting a small dab of glue right on top of the thread, and I'm laying those flowers down just to give her some pretty flowers on her spring hat. And this is how it looks. And you can see it just goes right on her head and fits really cute. Then I decided to grab my yellow thread and kind of just tie her hair back into a ponytail. I really liked how this looked with the hat. And I just wrap it around a few times and then tie it in a double knot. Left over right, right over left. Trim off the excess thread. And then to make her hat stay, you're actually going to grab your glue gun and place a nice big dab of glue inside her hat. You don't want too much because you don't want it to come running down over the top of her head. And then just put it on top of her head and hold it into place for about 30 seconds or even more until that glue sets. And that's it, guys. You're all done. You have this cute little sweet spring fairy. I was really excited about how these dolls turned out. I was super excited to find the hats. If you can't find a hat for your little fairy, still go ahead and make a spring fairy just using the really pretty pastel flowers that they have out right now. I loved being able to match the different pastel colors that were in the flower into her clothing and her hat. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you have any comments or questions, please post those below. Give this a big thumbs up if you liked it. That would be wonderful. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Check out some of my other tutorials on my website, untidyartist.com, or you can also check them out on my YouTube channel. Thanks again for watching and for supporting the Untidy Artist, and we'll see you next time.